Welcome back. As we conclude to our first half of this episode, we have tools you'll need: a stylus, a computer, and a tablet. Animation Week in UK is interviewing OLM staff, so here is George.
OLM is the animation studio that produces and animates every series and film of the world's hugely popular franchise Pokemon and Yokai Watch. OLM began using Toon Boom Harmony in 2015 and took the lead in 2D digital animation in Japan. Since then, the OLM team responsible for facilitating 2D digital animation has worked hard in developing original manuals and accumulating know-how on methods of 2D digital production. OLM Animation has been on it for over 25 years. Animation Week asked, how has OLM decided to pioneer 2D digital animation production in Japan? We had a regular internal meeting right after the new year. At the first meeting in 2015, we announced that we would start digital production, so the usage of Toon Boom came down to us making a decision. There are different kinds of 2D animation software available, such as TV Paint, Clip Studio from Japan, and Toon Boom Harmony. We decided to use Toon Boom Harmony, including a pilot license, as our starting point. I am in charge of Pokemon, but OLM has other titles such as Yokai Watch, among many others. It is up to each producer's discretion on how to introduce digital production. Practically speaking, the first step my team took was trying out new equipment before thinking about the workflow or production pipeline. It was very confusing at the beginning as there were a lot of things that the creators, who normally work with paper, did not understand. With so much flux, I tried to find our own way of handling the concerns by discussing different approaches with Ogawa from the keyframe and layout team and Muraka from the drawing and in-between checking team. Within a month of introducing Toon Boom, it almost felt like we were facing a historical moment similar to the arrival of the black ships of Commodore Perry from America in 1853 for the opening of Japan, which had a closed-door policy then. In fact, we asked an expert staff member from Toon Boom to come to Japan in May 2015 as a lecturer. Our team was then able to ask him questions directly. However, we were still confused as the principles that guide the basic production workflow in Japan are totally different than those for the West. This made communication with each other difficult, apart from the language differences between English and Japanese. Hiroyuki Kato said. Shinichi Muraka had to say. Also, in actuality, the paper we use for drawing keyframes is becoming larger than conventional paper, a ratio of 4:3. Due to our adapting to current large-screen TVs that have a higher resolution. In this sense, digital production can be very beneficial as you can increase the resolution while maintaining the quality, without necessarily drawing big. They believe that 4K animation could have added value. At the moment, Pokemon is created in HD. But we think that we should make 4K animation once we have an offer to do so. This would require higher spec machines and more rendering time for 4K productions than for producing HD content. So I suppose we would need to discuss the budget when we get such an offer. When we draw backgrounds in Adobe Photoshop, we now draw it as large as possible for the higher resolution screens at first, and then reduce the size to HD. How much detail is required for the background differs depending on whether the animation we are making requires a highly detailed drawing similar to live action or a visual with certain omissions to look like an animation. The lines used on the characters, that we are talking about, is specific to Pokemon. If it were a different animation, we might want a sharper line of 2.0 instead of 2.5, or a thicker line of 4.0. Drawing is done on a case-by-case basis. Drawing the animation for characters who are jumping around is easier with Toon Boom Harmony than on paper. On the other hand, I think it is easier to draw on paper when it comes to drawing walking scenes or expressing the subtle movements of characters. Tamaki Ogawa said. Let's take a look at these Pokemon animation test videos. details about behind the story of Pokemon anime, visit us at animationweek.uk. George Fillmore, the official announcer, Pokemon Center, Tokyo.
George, thank you. That's it for today's episode. I'm Braincast Pero and see you next time. Thanks for watching.